Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, True Crime Stories. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button and subscribe so you can hear more. Thanks for stopping by. This is another case of identification having been made. After 37 years, the remains of a homicide victim found in Knoxville, Tennessee, have been identified as James Benson, born in 1965. Knoxville Police Department and Tennessee Bureau of Investigation team with Othram to identify the victim of a 1988 homicide. The skeletal remains of an unidentified man were found in the Coster Rail Yard in Knoxville, Tennessee in August of 1988. The Knoxville Police Department began collecting evidence and investigating. The man's body had been buried under railroad tracks, and his death was ruled a murder, a homicide. Investigators determined that the remains belonged to an adult white male between the ages of 20 and 30. He was estimated to be about 5'8" to 5'11" tall. He was found wearing a red knit pullover t-shirt with the logo, "The Best Italian Restaurant." I do remember this story. Investigators worked to identify him, but this was before DNA was being used as much as it is today. Details of the case were entered into Name Us, and he became known as Knoxville John Doe. In 2023, investigators teamed up with Othram Labs to help begin to identify this man. They worked to develop a DNA extract from the skeletal remains, and they were able to build from there, and they were able to identify him as James Benson. He was born September 11th, 1965. He was 22 years old when he was last seen in March of 1988. An investigation into what happened to him is ongoing. But as I went back and tried to find who he was before and what police believed happened to him, and had he ever been reported missing, this James Benson. And so I went back trying to find who was this man. This was the original story, and this was all I could find. Was from Knox County, August 30th, 1988. This was Name Us. The Forensic Center says the remains of a white man estimated to be between 21 and 30 were found in the Coster Rail Yard area in North Knoxville. He had brown hair and was around 5'6" tall, and was wearing a red t-shirt with a Best Italian Restaurant logo. According to Name Us, the man's body was buried under the railroad tracks, and cut marks believed to have occurred at or near the time of his death were found on several parts of his body. Well, we know now that he was last known to have been seen in March of 1988 and was discovered in August of 1988. Scientists worked to develop a DNA extract from the provided skeletal remains of the John Doe, and they developed genome sequencing, and they were able to find a relative to this man, and he's been identified as James Benson. He was born September 11th, 1965, and he was last seen near the end of March 1988. He was 22 years old. Even though this man's identity has been discovered, who he was in life, I couldn't find anything to say if anyone had reported him missing. I couldn't go back and I'm having a little bit of work done outside my house, so if you hear a saw or something like that, I do apologize, but I couldn't go back and find anything to say what led up to his disappearance, what his family might have thought. Was he a transient? Was he, he just up and disappears one day and nobody hears from him? He had been stabbed to death, according to the medical examiner, and his body was buried under these railroad tracks. It was the railroad workers who were replacing some tracks in that area later that summer, about 3 or 4 months after he was last seen. In August of 1988, they discovered a body under this area where these railroad tracks were being replaced. So this was a murder, and so I couldn't find any details about what police might have investigated or are in the process of investigating. If he had not been reported missing by family or anyone, are they starting with that? Are they asking the question, why wasn't he reported missing? I'm not saying that he wasn't. I'm saying that I couldn't find anything on any websites, because once his identity has been, here's who he is, I couldn't find anything to say, well, who was he? So an investigation into what happened to James Benson is still ongoing. Knoxville Police Department Homicide Unit says if anyone has any information to contact them at 865-215-7275. Thanks for watching.